Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Financial Advisors Workshop. This is the show where we interview top financial advisors in the industry. There are many people doing great work for the public on behalf of the public in a very sophisticated investment advisor world that's out there. And today we have Brett Nelson, and he operates in Kansas and lives in Missouri, right on the border.
Yeah.
Got a great firm. Brett, welcome to our show today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Brian. Seriously, I'm really happy to be here.
So glad you're here. And you're with a firm called Privali Innovative Wealth Strategies, right?
Prevail. I probably spelled that wrong. That's my fault.
Okay. And no problem. And you're also a certified life underwriter.
Correct.
And you work primarily with business owners and with physicians, which is really great. So you've had a great success. So Brett, how did you get started in this business?
That's a good question. Yeah, I always love hearing that story from everyone that's in this. I was in my previous life, I was a nightclub manager and an operations manager, and got married a little later in life. But I always said once I got married, I couldn't be in that world anymore. Working at night and all those different things. And so, funny enough, I never wake up early in the morning, but I woken up early one morning and on the news, they were advertising a career fair at the Royals Stadium, the Royals baseball team stadium. And if you went, you got a free ticket to the game.
Oh, wow.
So I went there, right, looking around and came across the booth with a financial firm, not the one that I'm at today, but, thought I'd take a chance. And, really how I got going was, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, when I got into the business, my wife was and still is a surgery center nurse at one of the surgery centers here in town. So we were, interacting with a lot of surgeons and physicians, and that's who I call on. And then also, the neighbor of one of my relatives was the dean of a fellowship program at University of Missouri, Kansas City Medical School. And so he was kind enough to let me come down and, talk his ear off a little bit. And then he started introducing me to the fellows in the program, and it just sort of spilled from there. And so that was really instrumental in me helping me build my practice. Again, not only working with the doctors that were out, but working with the doctors that were at the beginning of the path, gaining their trust, right? And then once they finished up, we just went right at it. And so that's really how I got to where I was. And then along the way, obviously those physicians might start owning their own practice. So I started, working in that space of business owners, and then that get introduced to other business owners. So that's how I kind of came to these specific areas of focus.
Nice. And so now you went to Hunter College and you got out. Did you go right into Prevail, or did you start elsewhere?
Yeah, no, getting out of Hunter. So I went to New York right out of high school to be an actor. Thought I wanted to be an actor, but really that meant I became a bartender. And so when that brought me back to Kansas City, that's where how I fell into the nightclub management, and that's where I was at until, like I said, I just got to the point where I said, "Listen, number one, I'm too old to keep doing this, and staying up till 3 a.m. And number two, if I want to be married, I probably need to be home with my wife on the weekends and not, out at the bar or out at the nightclub." So yeah, that's how I fell into this. And a million miles away, I think probably for a lot of us, maybe a million miles away from where I thought I would be, but I love it.
Excellent. And then you spent time at Northwestern Mutual.
Correct. Yep.
And then Aspire Financial, Strategic Financial as well. What do you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that path. Yeah. Starting out at Northwestern Mutual, and I know most people in the industry are familiar with, they do have great training. They do a great job of giving you an understanding of what you need to do to start to be successful. And so I definitely am thankful that that's where I started, because of the base that it gave me in terms of, what you need to be doing to achieve success in this business. It just didn't turn out being a fit for me. And number one, because I had this wild idea that I would try and do it on my own, open up my own shop, open up my own firm at a very young age, right? I certainly wasn't ready for it. And quickly realized, as you know yourself, what all is required to, be on your own, have your own shop in this business, the liability, just all these different things, right? So that I tried that for a little bit. It didn't work out great, and that's fine. So from there, I joined another firm, Woody Financial, and they were nice, but they were a little bit pigeonholed into insurance, as was
Okay.
Northwestern Mutual at the time. And I just want to be able to offer my clients more.
Okay.
So from there, I found Prevail Wealth, which I've been here for, be going on 5 years in July. And this is really what I wanted. We offer really everything under one roof except having a CPA. We have, estate planning attorneys. We obviously manage investments and manage wealth. We do offer insurance services. We offer tax planning. So I really definitely want to be able to give I didn't like my clients having to be working with 3 different people and getting 3 different opinions. I want to be able to offer everything to them. So that's how I ended up here.
Okay, great. Great. So what's the structure of your firm now? How many partners?
Yeah, great question. We have, God, I have to think because we have 7 partners, and then we have about 25 to 30 advisors.
Mhm.
We have about, we have right now, we have 6 analysts and traders.
Mhm.
Then we have our investment servicing team, which is made up of a 4-person team on that to, service clients, service the investments when that's needed. I have my own assistant on top of the rest of the team. And so basically, and I'll get into this, but we sold our firm, and our previous firm we sold in 2017 that we built about $5 billion in assets under management. And that firm had been around for 30 years. I obviously wasn't a part of it for that whole time. And so we basically wanted to scale down. So that's how Prevail came about. So, the owner, Kerry Lawing, previous firm, he was the owner. He came over along with the rest of us, president, vice president, of that nature.
Nice. Great. So you have 7 partners, and then how many total staff?
Yeah. We can't, let's see. I would say roughly, 10 to 12 total support staff, outside of the advisors and the traders and analysts.
So is there a general way of running money at Prevail, or does every manager kind of do like their own thing?
Fantastic question. No, we have a 12-person investment advisory committee. We actually build our portfolios in-house. Right. So we don't use American funds or anything like that. We build the portfolios in-house, and as advisors, we all trust the advisory committee to actively manage and trade those portfolios on a regular basis. So that they're very active. Our high net worth portfolios are made up of anywhere from 45 to 50 individual stocks. We don't use funds. And again, those are being actively managed and traded on a regular daily, weekly basis. Outside of that, we also, as we mentioned, we have a real estate investment division. So our clients have the opportunity to buy in and share classes and, properties that we set up as individual holdings. And then we will use some insurance strategies as well. And so in terms in that aspect, yes, as an advisor for my clients, we would discuss, do you want to incorporate some real estate? Do we want to use some of these insurance strategies to, have an overall wealth creation plan? But in terms of the money management, day to day and the buying and selling and creating portfolios, that's handled by the advisory committee.
Great. And how many people on that advisory committee?
12.
Oh, okay. So
And that includes the partners, and traders and analysts.
nice. Okay. So let's talk about how they run money. How do you guys do it? Are you value, deep value, book value? What, how do you guys do it?
That's a great question. So we really our approach really stems from these drastic changes that we've seen in the market really over the last 10 years in terms of volatility, pace of movement. So, if you look back, 40 of the 50 most volatile days in the history of the stock market have happened in the last 10 years. 40 of the 50. And so the approach that we take with our high net worth portfolios, and the reason that we use the individual stocks, is really to use volatility as an asset class. So our focus is really, how can we be using the volatility of each individual holding to capture getting in and out at set entry and exit points. So we'll take one of our high net worth portfolios supposed to perform in the market, and let's take Apple, for example. Let's say Apple's trading at $118 dollars today. It's not, but let's say it is.
Mhm.
We will set an entry and exit point for where we want to get in and get out of Apple. And we might target $100 as our entry point, 115 is our exit point, and we want to have 4% allocation to Apple. So following this, the market moves like a heartbeat today, right? We're also familiar with that. And sometimes that heartbeat gives you heartburn. But, taking a look at that cycle, right? Apple's at 118 today. Once it starts to trend down and hit 100, let's say we want a 4% allocation of Apple. So at 100, we buy 1%. And it keeps following the cycle and it gets down to 95, we buy another 1%. Starts to find some support and turn back around and come up. It hits 98, we buy another 1%. When it hits 100, we buy our final 1%. And whenever it gets back up and hits 115, we're going to get out. We're going to sell.
Okay.
We still like Apple. And so, a client might ask, well, what happens if it keeps going up and you miss out on the upside? That may happen. But again, understanding the cycle, when it comes back down, and again, if it starts to trend back down, we can set a new entry and exit point. Maybe now, okay, it's moved up a little bit. We identify we want to get it at 110 now, and we want to get out at 125. And so once the cycle brings it down to 110, we'll do that same strategy and get out at 125. And so instead of going up and down and up and down and up and down, we may not capture the highest return, right? But we're going to be, instead of going up and down and up and down and up and down, the cycle is going to give us the opportunity to do this over and over again. So we're not being greedy. We're just getting in and out of our set entry and exit points, capturing profits on these individual holdings and redeploying it into other sectors. And so by doing that, we've been able to be very successful over the past 5 years doing that.
So that measurement of activity you find to be superior to other ways, like in what way? Like are we not able to, we capture just the up moves and avoid the down moves? Is that the general idea?
Ideally, right? I mean, well, the first idea is that you're buying, hopefully you're buying lower and selling higher, right? Hopefully you're buying the stock on sale, right? We do have some momentum portfolios as well. So we do have momentum portfolios as well that we rotate. But our higher net portfolios are more focused on this strategy. And really, it's really twofold. One of our high net worth portfolios is an income portfolio. So this gives us a good chance to realize, some dividend, just create some income, right? Some targeted, if we're trying to create an 8% distribution for the portfolio. Now, again, we're not Bernie Madoff, right? But if we're targeting, an 8% monthly distribution on the portfolio, then having these calculated entry and exit points can help us to overall generate that target, income that we want to target. But it's really but you're right. It's about avoiding the downside as much as it is capturing the upside. So and I'm sure you're in a similar spot, Brian, but if you take a look at the S&P 500 compared to one of our opportunistic portfolios from 2020 through 2020, that portfolio has actually beaten the S&P by about 1% on an average annualized return. But in the 4 years that the market was up, 20, 21, 20, 21, 23, and 24. The S&P has beaten us on the up market every time. But the key is that in 2022, when the S&P was down about 20%, our portfolios were down about 7%.
Nice.
And, right. And that's the reason that we were able to average a higher annualized return. It's not because we were able to beat the S&P 500 in the up market. We significantly reduced the downside in the down market. So yeah, the answer to your question is yes. It's as much about avoiding the loss as it is about capturing the gain.
Excellent. And I suspect your volatility would be lower as well. So I bet clients.
Correct. Yeah, that it's a smoother ride. It's still a smoother one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good. So that's a good research strategy. How do you handle clients? Do you do financial planning with them as well, leading?
It's funny. I think in this industry, we all want our clients to probably use us more than they do. I'm always telling clients, hey, listen, we have all this stuff for a reason, right? So certainly, our goal is to go in into. All right, I'll take a step back. You've probably found this, Brian, especially people that are further along in the path. Our successful clients that we come to them maybe down the line. They've got 3 different people handling maybe the 3 key areas of a financial plan, right? They've got one person handling their insurance, one person handling their investments, one person, they've got an estate planning attorney outside of that. And so everything's operating in these silos and there's no harmony, right? So we believe it's critical for all these things to be, working in complement to each other, because obviously, typically, if something changes in the estate plan, it probably needs to change. If you got an insurance policy, if you got investments, right? Like when something changes here, it typically needs to change here and here, right?
Right.
So
Oh,
yes, yeah, we do comprehensive financial planning for the clients. If they don't have, for example, an estate plan, when we meet with them, that we can do that for them in house, or they can certainly go to their attorney, if they want to. If they're working with an outside attorney, and it's again, so we don't have CPAs. If nothing else, we love to have communication with those people. With a lot of my clients, when tax time comes, I'll just send documents straight to their CPA. And if it's an outside estate planning attorney, they want to change a beneficiary or something, I'll just zip the attorney an email and say, hey, did they make this change with you? Or can I get trust documents if I need them? So our goal is to definitely be involved as much as possible. And again, that's also why we created the real estate investment division, because number one, our clients were wanting that. And number two, a lot of them were, trying to do these things outside, on their own. And this gives us a chance to, again, just have more oversight over what's going on.
That's great. Well, good. So you bring a client in and we begin with financial planning and then we work on a portfolio.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. We bring them in, probably similar to your process, right? We're going to go through, whatever you want to call it, a fact finder, a client profile, right? Get an idea of what they've got going on, and try to identify where we can help. But yeah, it definitely starts with that discovery meeting, whatever term, industry term you want to use. But yeah, it starts with that and finding out, all the areas that we might be able to help.
Nice. Any other areas that you focus on, maybe alternatives or other types of?
What we do, well, our portfolio, those customized portfolios do include partnerships as well.
Okay.
Probably know what the headache of the K1s are. Right now we're still waiting on some K1s, right? Some of these actively traded portfolios might have about, 10 K1s that we're waiting on. And obviously having to call a client and say, you might have to file an extension is not fun. But yeah, those are what we're looking for, as opposed to, again, a heavy concentration in just bonds or something like that, if we're trying to create distributions or things of that nature. And actually, I'll answer that with another aspect of the way that we invest money. We believe that passive income is really, really important inside the portfolio for a couple of reasons. Obviously, number one, if you're needing income, right? If you're in retirement or something like that, the ability to draw income without spending principal is ideal. We all get that. But even along the way, for our clients, let's take an IRA, for example. I'll have a client that has an IRA and, they don't plan on contributing to that anymore, right? They moved it over. They're going to work for someplace else. That IRA is just going to sit there. They're not going to make contributions to it. Having some inherent income investments inside the portfolio, even if it's just, maybe it generates just a few $1,000s a year, or, $6,000, $7,000 a year here and there. They're obviously not taking that income, right? It's retirement plan. So we're reinvesting those dividends and interest back into the portfolio. So number one, that supports the downturns, right? That yield helps to support when there's volatility, but also it gives it's a way for them to make, tax-free contributions to their IRA without making contributions out of pocket, right? Because now all of a sudden you just made a $6,000 contribution to your IRA last year simply because we took the income and reinvested it. And obviously it wasn't taxed because it's inside the IRA.
Nice. Well, good. Sounds like you have great strategies, and how it all works is really integrated for the client. I noticed you're also a CLU. That's an insurance chartered life underwriter. So I know you picked that up probably during your Northwestern days, but do you still much with insurance, and how does that all integrate into your plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's always funny. First of all, I always wonder when people read charter life underwriters that they think I'm an underwriter, right? Do I underwrite insurance policies, which I don't, but that's the term they chose to give it. No, insurance does play a large part of what we do. It's interesting, being that I have worked in the physician market for so long, I actually serve as the disability insurance specialist for the office, right? So when you're working with high income earners, especially highly specialized, right? Like a physician or a surgeon, for example, right? We help them to implement, policies that will protect them in the event that they can't perform their specialty. So, you're right. The other side of that, though, is we believe it's really critical to incorporate non-correlated assets into your portfolio that aren't correlated to the market in terms of performance, right? That's where the real estate serves that in one purpose. But we also use very high net worth life insurance policies that grow vastly in cash value and are tax advantaged and protected from creditors, and will give you just another level that you can turn on for liquidity. And I come into that a lot. Life insurance is obviously maybe can be a hot button topic in the industry, but it's just like any other product. It's all about how you design it, right? The design is very, very critical.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of different ways that you can build those policies, whether it's to, amass as much early cash value that you can access and use as you can, or it's to, create a policy that's maybe going to act more like a pension for you on the back end. It'll give you tax-free income and also provide that death benefit aspect if you pass away for your beneficiary or spouse to have. But that's all very technical. And so that's where a lot of my expertise comes in, as well as helping other advisors design these policies for high net worth clients that are looking for an alternative outside of a Roth IRA, which, doesn't really move the needle. Even if you use a backdoor strategy, you're still only getting, $7,000 a year in there. For high net worth, high incomers, that doesn't really move the needle very much.
Mhm. Any other strategies on insurance that you use that are interesting?
Well, as we come up on the expiration of, well, we assume the Bush tax cuts or the Trump tax cuts will expire, right? That may not happen, but as of now, it will, right?
Right.
That's going to have a big impact to the estate and gift tax, right? Basically, it's going to get sliced in half. So I know it's another life insurance strategy, but we will use life insurance trusts for clients, especially right now, to take advantage of, hey, right now you could put 26 million right into this trust.
Right.
2026, it'll be 12 and a half million, right? So use those. Obviously, that's for very high net worth individuals. They're going to have estate tax problems, but that's another lever that we can use on the insurance side to, basically we're trying to use these instruments as a tax, to shelter from taxes as much as we can.
Okay. Nice. So, when you service clients, how do you handle it? Do you do reviews every quarter, every 6 months?
Yeah, great question. It depends on, they kind of really start. I mean, our standard approach is every 6 months for clients that maybe have assets in excess of, really I'll go with an excess of 1 million.
Right.
We'll offer a quarterly review if they want that, right?
Right.
Some do, some don't. But even if they don't choose that, we'll definitely touch with them every quarter just to say, I want to check in, see how you're doing. Would you like to get together? But I think just as important, Brian, is you've got to have a team for that, right? And that's why I have an assistant. That's why we have our 4-person investment, client servicing division over there, right? We think it's really, really important if someone calls up here, they can get a hold of somebody, right? Whether it's me, whether it's my assistant Bailey, whether it's Angelica Fox, our investment service manager, or it's even another advisor. But they should be able to get a hold of me or someone else that's involved with their planning on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of interesting things outside of that. And last night we actually had our March Madness party that we have every year.
Nice.
We had 200 people show up for that. We will typically host about at least one educational event each quarter, just to have an outside speaker come in and talk about issues that might be on clients' minds, estate planning, tax planning, real estate, all these different things. So we try the education piece, and I'm sure it's the same for you. The education piece is really important for us with our clients. We also like to have social events. We sponsor a charity golf tournament every year. So we really try to create as much of a family atmosphere with our clients as we can. And, really just go as deep as possible with them. Birthday cards, flowers, my clients, we send out brownies on birthdays, and I always get the call, thank you. Now I weigh, 3 pounds more, but yeah, we're definitely, I think, Brian, especially as you start to work with, even with high net worth clients, I tell them all the time, I know you're the girl at the dance, right? I know you're getting phone calls, and that's fine. So it's really, really important for us to make sure that we're always constantly in touch, reminding them that we're here, reminding them that, we're working for them. So it's really, really important. But even on a basic level, I'll tell my clients, we treat it like a doctor's office or dentist office. If nothing else, every 6 months, we want to have a checkup.
Yeah. Nice. Very good. How, I was going to ask you, how did you think of your largest client, Brett?
Yes.
How did you acquire your largest client? Was it an evolution or was it
Yes.
a shock condition?
No, it's evolution. Probably, I'm sure your story is the same, right? The largest clients are years in the making, right?
Hmm.
I was actually just having this conversation last night, at our event. My biggest client, I was connected with him in 2017, I believe. And, calling him. Couldn't get a hold of him. I couldn't get a hold of him for probably 2 years. Then he finally answered the phone. We had a meeting at that time. Again, this was when I was at the firm. This is when I was at, the firm is a little bit more limited, right? A little bit more insurance focused.
Yep.
And so it didn't really go anywhere at that point. I think it's because I was sort of pigeonholed into what we could talk about. But I stayed in touch, right? I think that's the most important thing, right? No now isn't necessarily no forever, right? So I continue to stay in touch. And I would say 2020, I believe, finally got him to answer the phone again. Got him with myself and another partner at their firm, got together with them. And he said, in so many words, Brett has been calling me, every 3 to 6 months for the last 6 years, whatever, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, just constantly on my birthday, just to check in and say hi. So I decided, it was time to sit back down with you guys and see what you have to offer. So, and that's not too important, but I think just understand, as you mentioned, the higher the net worth, I think the more they want to know that you're not just trying to come in and, take the money, right? That you're there to develop.
Yep.
Yeah. So it can take time, take a lot of time. And then if you talk about my work with residents in, physicians in training, right? I might meet them in their, I'll give you a story. I have a client who's a neurosurgeon. She's a peripheral nerve neurosurgeon, which means she was in school for 19 years. 19 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I met her first year of fellowship, and it was a 6-year fellowship, right? She just finished up, in 2021. So my point is I'd been working with her, just literally servicing some disability insurance for her, some term life insurance for 6 years before, she got out and was starting to make money that we could actually begin to invest and do other things with. So it's definitely a long-term approach.
Long-term approach. Excellent. Well, it sounds like you've done that and you've built that over time and you've got a great client base. And you've had a great success. So it's been really great to visit with you today, Brett.
Yes, thank you.
I'm at the end of our conversation, a question I always like to ask a top financial advisor who's had great success. And I should say that the fail rate in our industry is quite high.
Oh, yeah.
Not many people make it through to where you are as a success. So if you can share like a broad-based message about success with our brethren, about 300 advisors will see this in the near term and probably 1,000 over the next year and a half. So what if they were all in the room in a big conference room? Imagine like a big, circular conference room. What would you tell them all about success? How do you get to where you are?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is, if you're married, your spouse has to be bought in as well.
Totally.
If you're on your own, that's different, right? But if you're married, your spouse has to be bought in as well, because there's going to be some tough times, right?
Absolutely.
You have to find out a way to just stay in the game. You just got to figure out a way to hold on and stay in the game, however that might be. I do think, being able to do getting involved in insurance planning can help in the beginning, simply because, it might, we all understand the way you're compensated. You need someone to have, $100,000 in investable assets to even really make a little bit of money. It's really hard to make money on assets under management in the beginning, unless you just happen to know a lot of people that have a good amount, of investable assets. And so just being able to assist with just that simple insurance planning, that can give you some income that's a little bit easier to generate for yourself while you're trying to get to that point where you're building up a large enough asset under management base. But asset under management is key to this business because it will give you consistent income. I think that's the biggest difference for me, right? You know, when you're starting out, insurance planning is nice, but it's really eating, feed and over and over and over again. You got to keep doing that, right? You know, the
Right.
recurring income really isn't there. So once you're able to finally get to that point with your assets under management where you can, at least pay your bills with your monthly, fees that you're collecting, that really does change things a lot. I think the last thing I would just share is this business is tough because of what it affords you. I mean, the opportunity we have is unlike any opportunity that exists out there. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, how much you want it, what kind of lifestyle you want to have, what kind of practice you want to have, how much you want to make, that's all totally up to you. Right. And there's certain things that we can't control, but you can control your effort. You can control your activity. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling, but I'll say one more thing. Main thing is you got to have a thick skin. That's the main thing. You have to have a thick skin. You can't be worrying about what other people might think about you. And you have to believe that you're helping people, Brian. You have to believe that you're helping people. When you get up in the morning, when you go to work, when you pick up that phone to call someone and ask them to meet with you, I don't want to sound arrogant, but you're doing them a favor. It's a good thing that you're calling them. It's to their benefit that you're calling them. You're not being a bother to them. You're not, it's a good thing because most people out there have not done this stuff, right? Most people, and the person that you think, if you're new in the business and you think, oh, my friend's got it taken care of, or my mom or my dad or my uncle, I'm going to tell you, most likely they haven't. Right. So if you'll go into it looking at it as, hey, I'm doing a good thing today. Everyone that I call, when they answer the phone, even if they sound maybe like they're distracted or whatever the case is, I'm doing them a favor by calling them and trying to help. And if they sound uninterested or distracted, it might be because they're just having something going on in their, like something just going on right now. So just don't take it personally, right? And there's wins too. Obviously, you'll have great phone calls, right? You'll have great meetings, you'll have great clients. But I think, we tend to focus on the negative instead of the positive. So when that negative happens, just try to take a step back and understand, it's not anything that you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. So persistence is a great message.
Persistence. You have to be.
Thank you. That's the key, one of the keys to success. And thanks for sharing your views with us today, Brett. And really, thanks for being with us today on the Financial Advisors Workshop.
It was a pleasure, Brian. Happy to come back anytime. Thank you.
Excellent. We'll check in later on, see how things are going. And thanks everybody for watching the show today. And we'll be back again with another really great interview with another one of our top people in the industry, so we can all learn from each other and serve the public in investing and lead to good outcomes, great lives through proper financial success. So thanks again, everybody, for being with us. We'll leave it there and sign off for today.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.